finish up how to get the lower end apart on this Mazda Miata engine. We got a 1.8 here, probably out of a 94 to 97. We're going to go ahead and strip down the short block. So I'm going to go step by step so you understand what I'm doing. Previous video, we went ahead and took the head off. We got to set it over to the side. Now what I got to do is I've got to rotate this engine so that it's upside down. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this up. Okay. All right. So the first job I got is to go ahead and take all these pan bolts off. So that's pretty simple, pretty basic. I don't know how many there are, maybe 18 or so. You got these two long ones up top, and then you got a bunch of little short ones on each side. Try to get this done quickly. The good news is I don't see any holes in the oil pan, which means like we didn't throw a rod or something. I don't know where this engine came from. I've had it for a while, so kind of a mystery engine right now. And yeah, this video is also for my auto class that I teach. I teach high school auto also, so this will be a good video for them to watch as they rebuild Mazda Miata engines here in the class. And so if you're not paying attention, this would be a great review video for them. So I'm just going to go all the way around, get these pan bolts off, put on my bolts in my valve cover here. This is a 94 to 97 1.8 liter. It's getting kind of rare. We only made them for a few years. So maybe it'd be a good one for us to rebuild. So I could have it. I've got 3 or 4 of these cars in rotation, being rented out at the racetrack locally out here in Northern California. All right, we're almost ready for the fun time. Mazda Miata pans are a little tricky to get off, just for the fact that they've got a windage tray that is siliconed in place, and so sometimes they're a little tricky. So basically I'm going to use a hammer and a straight screwdriver. I got to break the seal loose, and I kind of come right here. Break the seal, just kind of breaking it loose. All right, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. You can hear it starting to come up. You definitely want to make sure that you got all the bolts off. Come back to here. You can see it's working its way up. Now, there is a tricky part here because a lot of times the windage tray gets stuck on the pan, and it's actually glued and bolted down. So I shouldn't say glued, it's silicone. So you can see the pan is loose. But what's actually holding it on is the windage tray. So I got to find the edge of the windage tray, which is right here, and kind of get my screwdriver in between there. Right there, there it was. Come on here, get a closer look. So you see, like, here's the pan right here, but I just got the edge of the windage tray right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop that windage tray down. There it is. See how I popped it down? All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. I'm gonna come over here, try to find that edge of that windage tray. Okay, sometimes they're tricky. They're a little tricky. Okay, I can see it's right there. And if I bend it a little bit, it's not the end of the world because I can always straighten it out. Okay, there I got it. And I got it popped off. All right. Now I go ahead and take the pan off. Hey, good news. No metal down in there. I don't see a rod or a bunch of metal particles or nothing like that. So that's good. All right. So here's our windage tray and our oil pickup. And it's just a matter of undoing these two 10 millimeters from the oil pickup tube. These are kind of special bolts, so don't lose them. Seems like the kids here in the class are always misplacing those, and they are special. Yes, the kids also, they're special. All right, I got that there, and I'm gonna rotate my crankshaft till this number one piston is all the way at bottom dead center, so it's as far up here as it can go. So this is gonna be my number one. I did mark the pistons with 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this one first. And if you follow my directions exactly, you will never have a problem. If you drop the nut down into the engine block, don't panic. All you gotta do is rotate this thing back over and it'll come right off. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna barely tap this so that I can get the rod cap off. So as soon as the rod cap comes off, then I know I'm good. All right, so here's my bearing right here. Let's see if I can get that out of there so you can see it. Okay, there's a bearing. Man, it looks like brand new. See that? That's definitely what I want to see. I'm going to put the bearing back where it came from so I don't get them mixed up. Set that aside. Okay, very important. Never leave home without protection. Okay, you got to have the protection. All right, if you don't have these, this is what this is meant for. You can use some fuel line and put them over here, but what I'm going to try to do is protect the crankshaft, the very shiny, polished area journal right here, with this protection so that the threads don't scratch the crankshaft. Otherwise, that could be a costly repair to have this crankshaft resurfaced in order to get rid of those scratches. So I've got my protection on. I'm just going to push the piston down. I don't want the piston to fall out onto the ground and break, because I might want to reuse this piston. That's why I marked it. Okay, so I'm going to push it down. And you can use a wooden handle or the handle of a hammer. Okay, remove my protection. And I can see my bearings are in great shape. This crankshaft journal is like in flawless condition. It's perfect. I don't see any black on any of the other ones, so I think this probably was a good running engine. All right, so here's the piston here. I've got it marked number one, and you know, it's got rings on there, but we would definitely pitch those for new ones. I usually just replace the whole piston. I have the rods rebuilt, but we'll get into that when we go to rebuild. So see how it's got a little notch pin right here, and it's got a little notch pin right there? Those two go together. These things are mated for life, unlike most of us, but this is mated for life. So we got to make sure that we put these rod caps right back on where they came from, and I put the nuts back on so I don't lose them. All right, so I got that going back on. And one way that you can tell this is the correct rod cap for this rod, even though they're not numbered, if you look right here, they make a little stamping mark, and see how that mark all lines up there at that seam? That tells me that this rod cap goes to this rod. Sometimes it's a V, sometimes it's a line, sometimes it's a W. So that tells me that that goes, these two are matched. So now I want to set this someplace where it's not going to fall, get damaged, you know, set that out of the way. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do this one next, because see how it's up here? And then once I've got number 4 off, I'll rotate the crankshaft to here, and then I'll do these two, okay? So for now, I'm going to do my number 4, then I'll come back and do 2 and 3. So I'll be back after I get them off. It's Al Angelo from A Plus Racing. We're back. Hey, we were pulling those pistons out. We got them out. They're sitting right over there. They're numbered 1 through 4, so I know where they came out of. So we got all of our pistons out. The next thing I got to do to tear this down is I got to remove this rear main seal. So come on back here and I'll show you where it's at. So here's the rear main seal right here, okay? This keeps oil from leaking out the back of an engine. It's held in with these 10 millimeter bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and take those off. And then it's just going to pop right off. Not a big deal. Now, one thing about this rear main seal is that the bolts are two different sizes. There are short ones and there are long ones. So I can't get to it with this. So if you notice in my hand, you'll see I've got two short ones and one long one. So the long ones come out, I believe, from the top here, and then the short ones are the bottom ones. So I'm going to pull it off, and lo and behold, it's another long one. Okay, so I'm going to take a straight screwdriver, and I'm just going to wobble this thing right on out of there. Just like that. And it fell on the ground. All right. So I got my rear main seal out, and I've got the bolts. I'm going to set them aside, place the bolts inside there. Okay, this is all done. So I'm going to go to the front of the engine now, and I'm going to take off the front pulley here. That's where the harmonic balancer would have gone. Let me get this socket off here. I already cracked it loose with an impact gun, so it shouldn't be on too tight. There it is. Okay. Set that aside. Okay, and then there's a keyway right here. Here's the keyway. I'm going to pull it out. Okay. I'm going to set those parts together. Okay, now my belt can come off. I'm going to reuse that belt. This should slide right off. Okay, there's my front crank gear. Set it over there. All right, so next step is take the oil pump off and the water pump off. And I'm going to be pretty close to being done here. So most of these are 12s. So we'll take this water pump off. So 12, 12. I got that 12. These are all the same size too, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and pull off this one idler gear here, just for the fact that the bolt is behind it. So this is the idler pulley for the water pump. It's the idler pulley for the timing belt, but it attaches to the water pump. So I got it off. Set this over there. And I'm probably just going to tap this with a hammer. It should pop off. Like I said, it should. Oh, you know what? I bet you that one's got to come off. Forgot. 1/8 go all the way through. 1/6s. You don't have to take this one all the way off. This one threads into the block. So this is the tensioner pulley for the timing belt that I'm removing right now. And in a 1/8, it goes all the way through the water pump and into the block. That's why the water pump didn't want to just fall right off. There it goes. Okay. Man, look at that water pump. It's like brand new. Somebody just must have just put that on there. The bolts in there. Okay, water pump's off. Next thing comes up is the oil pump. So let's see. And I always replace these. I don't reuse them. They're about $100, so I don't like reusing a water pump. I try to always put a brand new one in. I mean, some people take them apart and look them over and tell whether or not they're still good or not, but I just replace them. I'll set that there. Put those bolts there. All right, so the crankshaft is almost here all by itself now. So the next step is to go ahead and remove these main caps. And I'm going to show you about that when we come back. We're back. All right, so what we did was we went ahead and just cracked loose all of our main caps. The trick here is to make sure that you have the main caps marked, because they need to go back in the exact position they came from. This is a 1/8. So a 1/8, they're actually stamped in here. This one has a 1, this has a 2, this has a 3, this has a cast number 4, that one has a 5. So these are stamped with the numbers in them. A 1/6 won't. So usually I'll take a punch and I'll make a punch mark, you know, 1 punch, 2 punches, 3 punches, 4 punches, 5 punches, so I know where the main caps go. So I'm going to go ahead and press these off. I'm just going to take all the bolts off. Okay. And I got my bolts. Set those aside. And I left the 1 in here because I'm going to use it as a tool. I'm going to set it there like that. Then I hit it. Yeah, you're impressed, I can tell. All right, so this is my number 1. I'm going to set it right there. My number 2. And you notice they've got a point on them. That arrow has to point towards the front. Okay, here's my number 3. My number 4. And my number 5. Okay, so now I can go ahead and pull this crank out. Now, right here, there's going to be a couple of thrust bearings, and I want to make sure I don't lose them when I lift the crank out. So I'm going to pull the crankshaft straight out. Honest I am. There it is. And I'm going to set it off to the side. Very careful. Okay, that baby is cherry. Okay, so if I come back here, what's left is my main bearings. Okay, here's that thrust bearing I was telling you about. I don't want to lose these. I'm going to have to reuse those. And I can remove all of my bearings. Okay. Not going to be reusing most of those, but those thrust bearings, the little side wing ones, we probably will. All right, so what I have left now on my little squirter tube, I'm going to go ahead and just buzz those off. Okay. And basically these help lubricate oil on the piston. You'll see that you have a copper washer usually in here. So I'm taking, these don't have to be numbered. Okay, and I'll set those aside. All right, now I can go ahead and put my main caps back on. So that was number 1. And I do this so that I don't lose the order. Especially if you're in my class, I don't want you leaving these off any longer than you absolutely have to, because boy, I already know you guys get them all mixed up, and we're trying to put the engine together and it won't go together right, won't spin. So I want you to keep these main caps off of the engine. They're mated for life. They got to go in a certain spot, and that's the only place they can go. And if you don't have them numbered, man, we go round and round over that. Okay. Almost done here. So I basically almost got this block stripped down to where I can send it off to a machine shop to have them clean it and check it out. All I got to remove is that oil filter on the side over there, and that's pretty much it. Okay, one other thing I wanted to show you before we leave, and I saw it early on. It's on the other side here, so I want to show it to you. This. You see that little dowel right there? It does come off. You grab it with a pair of pliers, you can twist it. There's supposed to be one right here. See how it's missing? It's probably stuck in the head. You have to have both of those, okay? One has to go there and one has to go there. I mean, if I send it to a machine shop, he's gonna pull it out and send it back to me. that's not a problem. I trust my machine shop guy, he'll do it. You might want to pull them out. They're kind of a hard part to get from Mazda, and they always seem to come up missing. So that's where this one's at, and there's probably another one in that head. It would have been right here. So pull them out, set them aside, all right? Other than that, you know, this baby is pretty much ready to go to the machine shop, and what I would tell them to do would be to clean the block and inspect it, and then probably re-hone the cylinders for new crosshatch for my new pistons and rings, okay? So it's pretty much ready to go like that. I hope you enjoyed the video on how to take the engine apart. It didn't take very long. We take these things apart all the time, rebuild them all the time. Not that hard of an engine to do. I'll do another one on a high performance build here after a little bit. If you're in my class, make sure that you got all your bolts back in where they go. I like to see my class to where they put the bolts back where they came from. So, because they seem to lose them. So I'd be putting my head bolts back in here, you know, wherever bolts came out of my oil pump, I'd put them back, water pump bolts back in. That way you don't lose track of where the bolts go. Otherwise, they're always like, Mr. Anglo, somebody stole our bolts. Thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. And you'll learn more about Miatas and racing them and how to keep yours on the front row. You know, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear your comments. If you've been building these engines for a long time and you see something that makes it easier that even I could learn, by all means, man, put it in the comment box. I'm always trying to learn how to do things better. So have a great day. Thank you very much.